Hi, it's Dwyer. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. Let's talk about Joshua Buatsi's victory over Craig Richards. Right, folks, he looked magnificent at times. He really is blessed deep in the pocket. He knows how to fight you when he's leaning up against you. Right? He's a master deep in the pocket, and he can shorten his punches. So deep in the pocket, while he's smothering yours, he can throw combinations, and he's extremely accurate. Here's my concern, right? I believe fighters with a certain style need to figure out their division. Folks, the light heavyweight division has quietly become one of the very best in boxing. I would argue that his style, which is being deep in the pocket, he has a great jab, he doesn't throw it enough. He wants to be deep in the pocket with you. That's a recipe for disaster in a division with Arthur Beterbiev. Talk about wanting to trade with you deep in the pocket. Joe Smith, the same thing. Anthony Yard, the same thing. Right? In other words, folks, it's the neighborhood here. If Buatsi was in a different division, you would say, okay, with his power, with his accuracy, with his ability to be in the pocket and not give you room to extend your arms, right? He's going to be a success until you realize that he's in a division with Anthony Yard, who can throw a punch this far and knock you the hell out, right? I'm just not sure where Buatsi goes from here. Let me also say a couple other things too, and I'm going to sound critical. Understand, he's unbeaten. The reason I'm talking about him, the reason I'm being critical about him, is that he has a lot of talent. Well, the guy he's fighting has already fought Bivol, Craig Richards, right? He is the definition of the cagey vet, right? He's hanging around. He's taking huge punches that would have dropped a lot of guys, but he's staying upright. Not only that, he has ring coverage. So I need for people to look at this film because it's striking. Understand, Buatsi has the physical advantages, right? He's the faster-handed guy. He looks like the better athlete. In other words, just faster reflexes in general. The guy looks like he's the more explosive puncher. So Craig Richards is staying outside. In other words, he actually has the opportunity as the fight develops, after Buatsi gets off of the great start that he had. Richards has the opportunity to stay outside because, like Canelo, Buatsi seems to have a stamina problem. In other words, you're watching him and you're saying, oh, he looks great, he looks great. Then you're wondering, gee, how come this opponent is able to back away from him and Buatsi's not on him like young Mike Tyson? Right? When you have the inside skills of a Buatsi, why would you ever allow outside boxing to happen? Right? Let me also say this too. His mind seems to wander. As you're looking at the film of this fight, you notice Richards is able to throw a variety of punches. Uppercut, straight right hand from distance. And it seems to catch Buatsi by surprise. It's as if Buatsi, is backing away from the pocket. And then he seems to let his hands down and repeatedly is getting caught with long shots by Craig Richards, right? Understand, Richards is just in there hoping for lightning. I thought the scores were closer than the actual fight. I thought Buatsi won the fight by more than 115, 113. right? I thought Richards' strategy was the KG vet strategy of, hey, I'm landing flush. Some of these surprise shots. Also, Richards is the guy who throws punches from odd angles. Right? So I thought Richards' whole game was, hey, this young guy, when he turns off, I'm going to hit him with something big. Maybe I can put him on the canvas. Maybe I can hurt him. Then put him on the canvas. Shake this up. And incredibly, in that fight, Buatsi keeps getting hit with shots. Right? And they're predominantly shots from distance. You would think over time, Buatsi would, when he moves away from the pocket after doing great work inside, you would think he'd have his hands up like this, right? You would think he would bounce away. That's the other problem with Buatsi. Not a lot of lateral movement. In other words, this is the gifted guy, and he has few peers deep in the pocket, folks. This is the gifted guy who comes in the pocket and is looking great and stuff like that. But if you're going to leave the pocket, you can't just drift backwards, right? What Richards is doing is Richards watches him drift backwards and has a punch ready, right? Because he knows Buatsi's not going to bounce to the side. He's going to be there to get hit. Right now, Buatsi has 16 pro fights. He's 16-0. Right? Let's just say that as you watch him, you have to put him in the category of extremely talented. Young guy. I say young guy, and he's not that young, right? I say young guy. Because then you're thinking to yourself, wow, with this jab in this division, shouldn't this young guy, why does every round have to be rough and tumble? Shouldn't this guy come out a few rounds and just stay outside? Make the round a slow round. He's off to the fast start, right? He's winning the early rounds on my card, but they're too rough and tumble. Then you see him deep in the pocket, and you have to think to yourself, would this guy fight Anthony Yarde this way? Would this guy fight Arthur Beterbiev this way? Think about how many shipwrecks Beterbiev opponents who tried to trade with him ended up with. You remember that Grovestick fight where Grovestick tries to trade with, Beterbiev? So here's what I want people to think about. Also, the stamina issue is a real issue. This is a Zhang Zhili type situation where if you see Buatsi in the first 2 rounds, you're thinking to yourself, man, this guy's ready for a championship fight. Wow, this guy could be the future of the division. Then you get to the 6th and 7th rounds, and you see the guy looking a little sluggish. You're noticing that the guy hasn't thrown a punch for at least the last 15 seconds and is taking the round off. And you do have to ask yourself, wow, in a division with non-stop competitors, right, folks? Joe Smith is going to bring it for 12 rounds, right? Where's the Arthur Beterbiev fight you've seen, where Beterbiev is having a slow round and he's just hanging around, hardly throwing punches? Understand, this is Bivol division. Where's the Bivol fight you've seen, where Bivol is letting guys off the hook? You understand. You're in a hard-hitting, up-close division with guys with great stamina. So, Buatsi, as talented as he is, and he's great inside, folks. Also, his jab is stiff. His jab's one of the better jabs in boxing when he throws it. Right? This is that situation where the fighter doesn't trust his tools. Right? Larry Holmes would just sit back behind that jab and say, oh, I'm off to a fast start. I won the first 2 rounds. Let this jab determine the next 4 rounds. Then we'll be in the second half of the fight. I'll be up 5-1 or 6-0, and my opponent's going to have to get desperate. I'll have him walking into shots. Instead, this is the young guy with the great jab where somehow the gun's in the holster. Right? And he's getting hit with shots. Right? Richards was not there for the payday, folks. He's trying to time shots. You can tell by the types of shots he's throwing. Right? So Buatsi, negligently just backs away. Richards has an uppercut ready. In other words, he's noticed the young guy's backing away. Guess what? That chin's exposed. Right? You can see Richards processing the whole thing. It's like, okay, the next time this guy backs away lazily, I'm going to have this uppercut ready. And it's a little bit shocking because Buatsi continues to back away lazily. Right? This is not the guy who gets in the pocket, who's doing great work, who's looking like Roberto Duran deep in the pocket, who then says, man, I'm going to spend the whole round deep in the pocket. No, this is the guy who, after looking good for, let's say, 20 seconds deep in the pocket, then says to himself, man, I'm tired. I need to take a breather. Then he's backing away lazily. Now, look, if you're 35, okay, we understand it. You're an OG, right? You need to pace yourself. But when you're in your 20s, in a division with Beterbiev and Smith and Bivol, just the idea that you need to pace yourself by the middle of the fight is going to place Buatsi at risk. So he won this fight, folks. He's unbeaten. He has power. Don't be fooled by the fact that Craig Richards lasts 12 rounds. Right? I'm sure Richards is sore right now with a headache. Right? He got hit with some hellacious shots. Right? But the problem's the division. The problem's the stamina. The problem's the fact that Buatsi lets his defense slip. How do you get hit in the head when you're backing away? Don't you think to yourself, okay, I'm backing away now. My opponent has been in the ring with Bivol. In other words, he's been in the ring with, world-class fighters. Right? Don't you bounce away. Why is Buatsi backing away, standing up? And sometimes he has a hand here. Somehow he forgets to put a hand here. Where does he think Richards is going to hit him? Right? So the fight ends up being Richards, who doesn't have the hand speed, making the rounds competitive with timing. Right? Also, it's a mismatch up close. Buatsi is that dominant deep in the pocket. Right? How is Richards able then to back away? Have Buatsi walking toward him from distance and then having an opportunity to extend his arms and to show us that he could hit Buatsi from distance. Right? So Buatsi and his team are going to sit down and they're going to work things through. Let me just say, the young fighters, figure out your competition. Right? Beterbiev and Smith, they're in their 30s. You should know about them already. If you're in Arthur Beterbiev's division, you need to be working on your jab, don't you? If you have a great jab, and this guy does, you need to figure out a way to trust your jab. Why isn't Buatsi pumping the jab religiously every round? Especially since the guy seems to get tired. Isn't the best way to pace yourself by having a jab and a game where you can actually hide behind the jab, win the slow rounds, force the other guy to make mistakes? If every round ends up being blood and guts, in a division with Beterbiev, Smith, Yard, Bivol, Jean Pascal just won a match, you're asking for trouble. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I congratulate Buatsi. He's immensely talented. Let's just say I want people to look at the tape Just ask yourself, why is Buatsi getting hit with these shots from Craig Richards? Right? Why is Richards able to time him? Right? Also, as you see Buatsi right in front of Richards, just ask yourself, well, what could Buatsi do to leave the deep pocket without getting hit? Here's a suggestion. How about bobbing and weaving and moving laterally out of the pocket? Why is this young guy just backing away out of the pocket against the guy who is trying to hit him as he backs away? Understand, that's Richard's game. Right? You're lazily backing away. You have a hand up like this. Richards is going to come in on this side. Right? He's going to try to time it so you back away. Boom, boom. His game is to try to knock you down. Buatsi came dangerously close to falling in that trap. I thought he won the fight by more than 2 rounds, but let's just say he did take some punishment here. That's how I see it. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this video. Thanks for stopping by.